Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Backlot Banter. My name is Sucker Hazel, and today I'm joined by my little German boy, Tanner Dykstra, and today we're here to talk about the monkey. The monkey! Osgood Perkins is back after just a few short months after Long Legs. He's back with
hmm
The Monkey, the movie. We are here to review today, but of course, if you have seen The Monkey, join our Discord server to talk to us about the movie, or leave your thoughts in the comment section of this video. And we're gonna we're diving straight into it. Like this is my diving. Actually, no, wait,
Uh-huh.
you say, no, and then I dive in the pool,
Oh yeah.
I die.
Boom.
Yeah. Tanner, what do you think about the monkey?
Tucker, I like The Monkey. I think it's quite a funny movie. I'm sure there are flaws to it, there are issues with it that we'll get to. But I think it's a really interesting sort of sidestep, a lateral move for Osgood Perkins here as he really jumped into the horror spotlight with Long Legs
Yeah.
over the summer. And then moving into something that is far more comedy than it even is like horror
Yeah.
comedy.
Mm-hmm.
It is like it's like gore comedy is kind of what I
Sure.
would describe this as, because this that's just not necessarily a horror movie. I think it has its, like I said, I think it has its shortcomings in terms of character and pacing and script writing and whatnot, but overall I found it to be an enjoyable experience.
I don't know. I did not. I have to be the Debbie Downer here on the review of the monkey to say we were reviewing something recently, and you said I think it was Captain America, and you said
Mm.
when I look back on this movie, was there anything I really liked about this
Oh
movie?
sure, yeah,
And
yeah.
the answer is not really. And to be honest, that's how I feel about the monkey. Um, I respect it for committing to its own unique tone. Osgood
hmm
Perkins had a vision when he made this movie, and he committed to that. And good on you for getting that delivered to theaters. But as a viewer, I found this movie very grating, and I found it
hmm
very difficult to get invested because of the way the characters were written, the way the film was paced in terms of like timing and comedic timing. I found very
hmm
off-putting, and the only moments that I felt truly impressed or engaged by were the kills, which I think are
Sure.
really well done. Some great effects, great practical effects, very creative. Um, and there are a good number of them in this movie, but a lot of it is just characters kind of like standing around awkwardly and saying awkward lines to one another. And
Yeah.
that was what I didn't like about the movie. I didn't like a lot of almost any of the performances, I think, and I
Mm-hmm.
really did not like the dialogue. So yeah, this is a big miss for me.
Sure. Yeah. No, Tucker, I do have to ask because often when we talk about comedies, when we review
Yeah,
them, I think we often bring this up. You saw this on your own.
I did. Yes.
Was there a theater full of people with you, or was it
Yeah,
relatively
it was
empty?
pretty full. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
Well,
I would say it was probably 60-65% full. Like
sure, sure.
there was four other people in my row.
Sure. Okay. Okay. And was the theater vibing with the movie, or not really?
Not really. There was a
Okay.
group of four high school boys in the very back who were
Uh-huh.
like they were like jabbering at the movie,
I
and it was
see.
annoying. But
Yeah.
again, they were having a good time, I guess.
Sure.
But they weren't like cackling at it. And I will say there were a
Mm-hmm.
couple moments that really got me. One
Mm-hmm.
moment of comedy I think is great is when there's some police rolling out a body. There's like a bunch of cheerleaders be like, they're bringing out the
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
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 And they're like,
And what are
and
these
like
weird?
that was so bizarre that I was like, what the heck? And I laughed at
Yeah.
it.
One of these weird unexplained moments
Yeah.
that I think this is obviously based on a Stephen King short story. I think it's one of those things that's really a holdover from that short story. There's a couple of things like that in this film that go unexplained, that are real question marks, that I will levy as sort of criticisms against the movie because they come so out of nowhere and you expect it to be, sort of fleshed out in some fashion, and they really aren't. But for my enjoyment of it, I should say I saw this with a couple of friends, and I saw it, again in a relatively full theater, and
Yeah.
we were all having a good time with it at least. Myself, my friends, and the theater included. So
Hmm.
it's just a very different movie going environment as
Yeah.
well lends itself to that. Because I can point to a lot of things I found funny. I think the
Sure.
sense of humor of it worked for me. It is so ironic
Yes.
that it can, sort of so venture so far away from moments of genuine character.
Yeah.
But I think it leans into its like cynical irony
Yeah.
so much, not as a mode of operation, but like as an overall aesthetic and attitude that the movie
Sure.
has.
And that's
Like
what I meant by Osgood Perkins committed to his style for this movie.
exactly,
The movie is
exactly.
very consistent throughout, which I think for me meant that it kind of felt flat. Like there weren't really moments of like spiking comedy or like,
Yeah.
I don't know, lower
Hmm.
emotion. It was kind of operating at its hum throughout the entire thing, which meant that I was kind of stuck in that the entire time.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
again, it's a commitment to it, and if that's something that if you enjoy that style, buddy, you get a lot of it in this movie.
That's right. I also think that there's a couple of I think now Osgood Perkins is sort of in this creative mode, at least for the time being,
Yeah.
where a lot of his production stylings or
Mm.
aesthetic interests are trapped in this, or not trapped, but like operate in this weird like late 20th century sort of
Mm-hmm.
vibe,
Yeah.
where it's like, is it the 70s? Is it the 80s? Is it the 90s?
Mm-hmm.
Like all of his
But it
characters in his
is
world
modern
sort of
day.
exactly.
Yeah.
There's smartphones and everything, but people are dressed, their cars,
Yeah.
they the styling of the characters and
Mm-hmm.
everything operates in a weird otherworldly sort of way where it's
Yeah.
it's clearly his idea of like a quaint small town
Mm-hmm.
growing up is what has informed his creative choices here.
Yeah. Yeah. And so this movie is about a toy monkey that can be used to kill someone.
Mhm.
The key can be turned, and whoever turns a key can't be killed. I don't know. The characters say that. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter.
There are
Um,
ultimately, it feels, no rules. The
yes.
monkey is a demonic force unto itself who
Kind of.
can
Yeah.
just decide when and how and who to kill.
Yeah. And I think I like the idea in concept, and I think it may work better for me if I read the Stephen King short story this is based off of. I
Mm.
think maybe a little bit better interiority to the characters, the prose of Stephen King, I think might sell this concept to me a little bit better because I like the imagery of the monkey. I think it's one of the strongest parts of the movie. The
Yeah,
shots and the sound design and the prop of the monkey itself, I think,
yeah,
are
yeah.
really, really strong. And why a lot of people are going to see the movie, myself included. But this movie is so addicted to the idea of the monkey that I feel like it neglects a lot of its other elements in terms of characters and motivation and like plot pacing and things. Because really, this movie just keeps returning to there's this monkey that our pair of characters
It
are
can,
like they can't get their mind
you,
off of it.
you can't destroy it. It
Yeah,
pops up wherever you go.
and it can teleport, and they say the word
Yeah,
teleport in the movie. I'm like, okay, like I guess like we just gotta like say it, but
yeah.
it's not subtle, and frankly, I feel it's not particularly creative with the way that
Okay.
it uses the monkey. It's just like it's the thing, like it does
Yeah.
the thing. We're just gonna go with it.
Again, one of those things where I think kind of the opposite of the short story, where like it is a really tight turn around version of this narrative, where it's just this guy being like, "There's a monkey. I try to get rid of it. It keeps popping up."
Yeah.
Whereas if you're stretching that out to feature length and you have to have the monkey continually show up.
Hmm.
At a certain point, you have to be like, this guy has to acknowledge that it can teleport, I
Hmm.
guess. Or Osgood Perkins at least feels like he needs to have the characters acknowledge that. Because these characters are, taking a realistic view of the situation. They are trying to live with the fact that this is something that exists in their life that has attached itself to
Yeah.
their family.
Now I
We
will
should get
say,
into a
Tanner,
little. Yeah.
I do wonder how you feel about the fact that the monster in this movie, Tanner,
Uh huh.
is a
Okay.
metaphor for generational trauma.
Well, that's interesting. Well, I see. Well, obviously, the film is not subtle about this either. About how the entirety, the monkey itself. I mean, Theo James has narration that essentially just says this. It's like it's like life, or more accurately, like death.
Yeah.
It happens to anyone. It follows you. At points it feels like it can follow somebody and continually strike. It can be gone for years, a decade plus, and then take multiple people at the same time. It feels cruel. It can at times be uncomfortably funny to be confronted with this stuff, but ultimately it's something that you have to make your peace with.
Yeah.
which is what happens at the end of the movie. So that's the lens that I am viewing the thematics through. But of course, there is, I don't know if it's so much trauma,
He
because
doesn't
like
want to pass it on to his son. His father passed it on
that's
to him,
true.
and then
Yeah, yeah, that's a good
yeah,
point. But I think it's more the the metaphor for how we relate to death, because like
sure,
it's not
yeah,
like
yeah, that's fair.
his dad beat his family or whatever. It's Adam
Yeah, yeah.
Scott at the beginning of the movie, which funny. I didn't. It's
Yeah.
funny to see him pop up immediately in
Mm-hmm.
like a like a pilot's costume
Mm-hmm.
with the flamethrower and everything. It's a good bit. I like that at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. So what did you say you wanted to shift our focus to?
Oh, sure. Let's talk about the characters and what perhaps did not work for them,
Yeah.
the relationships between them, and how the story is doled out, I suppose. So you have, of course, Theo James pulling double duty as
Yeah.
brothers here. But I guess before that, we should talk about the first 30 minutes or so of the film, which
Mm-hmm.
is following around Hal and Bill,
Yes.
right?
Correct.
As children, who are these twin brothers, and their mother, portrayed by Tatiana Maslany, as they, come to learn about the monkey for the
Mm-hmm.
first time. And Bill is our main character, right?
No. How's the
Oh,
main character?
Hal is the
Yeah.
main character. Sorry. And he's a bit of a loser. He's a bit of a loser. Uh, like Venom, you
Yeah.
understand?
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. And he's always getting bullied at school. And I don't know, Tuck, what do you make of these early scenes of this, where it really establishes its comedic tone and the relationship between Hal and Bill that will become very important in the third act of the film, basically.
Hated it. Could
Didn't like it.
not stand these kids. I think that the writing of this first act, ostensibly, of the
Hmm.
movie is so on the nose that it leaves no room for me to laugh. Frankly, I'm like, this isn't clever. To me, it felt like the writers were snickering as they as they wrote it, and they were like,
There you
hey, wouldn't it be funny if he called him dipshit all the time?
Mhm.
And I just felt that at every single scene, and all the cursing, and none of the characters like each other, and so I can't like them, and there's just like everyone is being mean all the time and rude, and I'm like, there's no in for this. Like, the
Yeah.
only in is that Hal is a normal kid and he's quiet, but
Yeah.
we don't see him form an attachment to anyone. He's so lonely, so disjointed, so detached,
Mhm.
and he doesn't talk enough to like get a sense of his personality. So I'm just kind of there existing in this awkward mishmash that feels like it's trying to recapture like not it's not high school because I don't think kids are old enough, but like
It's like middle school.
middle school drama, like teen angst kind of thing. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you're not like John Hughes. Like let's calm down here. This is
Yeah, see, but
it's
here's my
not
thing.
funny at all.
Here's my thing with why I found it funny. Because I think it's Perkins operating at a level of, yeah, we're doing like a John Hughes setting, but we're going to take the cynicism of it, like your ideation of it, your conception of the stuff,
Yeah.
and just turn it all the way, just turn the dial all the way to like past the point of irony, or
Yeah.
like it becomes the children are acting in a way and speak to each other in a way that is so ridiculous that you feel, yeah, that everybody is in on it at that point. It's like Perkins would not be directing this stuff if he wanted it to feel like genuine real
Yeah. No,
childhood.
of course.
He
Of
just wants
course.
he just wants it to feel prickly and ugly and so over the top, over cruelly over the top, that you can't help but laugh. I think at least that's what it felt like
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, I
Like when
I think that's
like when
probably the intention.
like when they confront him in the locker room, and the one girl's like got her leg up on
Yeah.
the stool or whatever, and she's like, so what's your deal here, huh, kid? You're the new kid in town. You don't think you think you're all tough?
Yeah.
We're gonna bully you now.
Yeah, and you're right. It is sequences like that I think make it very clear that this movie is operating writing wise as a comedy.
Mhm.
There are gore sequences, there are kills, as we'll get to,
Of course.
but most of the scenes are characters jabbering at one another and jabbing one
Mhm.
another and insulting one another and saying curse words a lot in this movie. And
Uh-huh.
you're right, is intended to be a comedy in that way, but I don't feel like it's biting. I don't feel like it's clever. Like
Sure.
what are we making fun of here? Like, what is the punchline? That they're it's the punchline is that they're rude and this is like a mean time and
Hmm.
that they curse a lot. And I'm like, I don't think that that's clever. And like, it certainly didn't hit me as something that like took like frankly comedic effort to make land. It was just like, well, let's just have him be mean and throw bananas at him, and that'll be that's the punchline is that he's sad because they bullied him. And I'm like, no,
And I totally understand where you're coming from
yeah,
too. I can totally see how this stuff doesn't work for people, and I've seen even if Tucker, if you can believe it, people on Twitter sort of being flippant about people's enjoyment of it, being like, "This is for 12-year-olds who have never seen a rated R
yeah,
movie before," stuff like that.
yeah,
But no, I think there is just something to the gross over, the gross over the top
yeah, yeah.
nature of everything that somehow just clicked for me.
Of
And I
course,
did
yeah.
have the creeping feeling as I walked out of the theater and sat with it and thought about the movie a little more, that like, would this work for me at all if I like rewatch this? I'm not sure if it would.
Yeah.
So that that's probably a mark against the film too, that I had those feelings walking out of
Mm.
it. Um, anyway, so Tucker, let's fast forward.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the
We do a
the
25-year
adulthood
time
side of.
skip to
That's right.
adult Theo James as a dad who has estranged himself intentionally from his like I don't know like 17-year-old son. It's hard to tell how
Hmm.
old Petey is supposed to be. Um, and I will say that I felt a lot better about the movie when we made that time skip and we finally got to Theo James and his journey. Because I think that his performance, as specifically as Hal, is one of the parts of the movie that I like. I think that his he's very focused. He's very grounded. Like he
Yeah,
feels
yeah,
like
he is.
very much retreated inside himself and pushed
Yeah.
everyone else away. And so that loneliness that I felt as a kid that was like alienating, I think felt more intentional when I think a stronger performer in Theo James rather than these kids who I thought weren't that good
Hmm.
is doing it. So I like his performance, and I think the movie tonally for me felt a lot better once we got to him. And of course, he's the majority of the movie, so that is
Yeah.
certainly a pro. But he's the he's the only one I liked
Okay.
performance wise.
Do you,
And
no, do you
so
like both of his
no,
performances?
no,
Okay, okay.
I think they are
Only
complete opposite.
Hal.
Yeah,
Okay.
only Hal. And so I think as he's like sort of talking to himself and narrating about like the fact that he's gone through all of this and like he's kind of existing on his own and like sitting in the car and like mulling over the fact that he doesn't know how to feel about being a dad. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling this. Like I understand
Sure,
who
sure.
this character is, but everyone else feels like they're in fucking Ricky Stenicki. Like they are like in like a full ass comedy. Uh,
Tucker, the only time anyone has invoked Ricky Stenicki after March 2024, by the way.
but I mean, but
Anyone in history, yeah.
or like Tropic Thunder, or like a flat out, full on comedy. Everyone
Sure,
else's
yeah.
performance feels like they're coming from that. From Elijah Wood, who's in this movie for 5 minutes and is like
Yeah,
going
listen.
crazy and
I liked Elijah Wood, him being like, "I stole your power." He's like, and Theo James on the couch, like, "What? You can't. What does that mean? You can't do that." He's like, "I
yeah,
stole your power. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you."
yeah. But what did you feel about the performances? I'll get into the supporting cast in a
Sure.
bit.
Yeah, I thought Theo James was good as well. The actor for Petey, I don't really recall. I don't know that kid's name. Is fine and is mostly there as like a tag along. Like,
Yeah.
this thing is, Dad, are you just being crazy about all this? Like his role is not necessarily that deep or
No,
complex.
no.
But I did like both of Theo James' performances. His performance as Bill is a little bit more. It doesn't have that depth to it that you were just explaining
Yeah.
with the fatherhood angle, and points to the real stinging issue of this movie is that it is so obsessed with making a joke out of absolutely
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
that the moments that should have been conciliatory reconciliation for our two brothers, we can overcome this thing together, are played for jokes as well.
Yeah.
But like when he's like explaining his whole post monkey, post putting the monkey down the well backstory and obsession with it. I think he's kind of doing a good job as being this guy who's clearly been driven insane to a comedic degree by this thing. And when he says he steals his childhood suit and he like sews it together with that weird Guy Fieri
Hmm.
flaming bowling shirt, I'm like, he's pulling off this look. He's got the weird small town dumb guy mullet. He's lounging around in this weird hotel, this burned out hotel
Yeah.
where he's made a shrine of TVs to the
Yeah.
monkey. I don't know. I was on board for his other performance in the film as well.
Yeah, I think the reason why I wasn't uh, is his character and the way he operates and the way he delivers lines and like the times he shows up in the movie
Mm.
to me felt like a parody of a villain. It felt like the
Okay.
epic movie version of a horror villain.
And I
Like
think that's again maybe something that Perkins was going for.
yeah, but I don't really understand why people will say, epic movie or whatever, like insert parody movie here is
Yeah.
like trash level cinema, like half star. And then
Uh-huh.
I think if Theo James' exact performance and story was plopped into another movie, he'd be getting fucking Razzies for it. And
Sure, I get
and
you.
so I
Yeah.
find him so distracting in this movie, especially as the movie has a mystery to it for the first 2/3 of
Mhm.
why is the monkey back, and why what is the motivation to have someone killing? Of course, you kind of get it. Like it's not like
Mhm.
particularly a clever reveal or interesting reveal, but when the reveal comes and it's okay, it is his brother operating the monkey, and the other deaths are because the monkey kills randomly and he can't actually get it to kill
Mhm.
Hal. And I'm like, okay, that's fine enough. But then you get him, and he's doing all this crazy, basically like bad grandpa level, jackass level, like just like totally parodic performance. I'm like, I don't buy that this guy even really believes that this is true. Like it's
Sure.
so corny that I'm like, there's really no drama to this. This is just like cartoonish bad guy 101, and so I don't feel
Yeah,
any dramatic
I
stakes.
I will say a moment that does not work is this moment of final confrontation between the brothers
Yeah.
where he's like where Hal effectively apologizes for killing their mother, of course, and he's like, I know how you feel about it. She was my mom too. And Bill comes back with, oh yeah, I
Oh,
forgot about that.
dude,
Like,
that's such a
because
it's
you
bad. It's really bad writing, frankly. And then
it's
and then they talk about that
it,
for like a
it
minute and a half. They're like, oh yeah,
yeah,
oh
it
I
goes
didn't think
on
about that.
too long
Oh no,
too.
like
Yeah.
why are we doing this? Like that doesn't make
Yeah.
sense for either of the characters.
The initial punch of the joke I can
Yeah,
understand
yeah, yeah.
because yeah, I just think of Bill as this character who has his mind has been addled
Of
by
course.
A, being allowed to be a bully his entire life,
Yeah,
and B, being a complete loner who's just been festering in his hate for his
yeah,
brother. And so if the initial punch of the joke is that like it clicks into place for him, and then we move on and get like an actual moment of connection between the two characters, that's fine. I think it would work far better. But no, they really like reiterate the joke like two, three, four
yeah,
times. I was like, yeah, guys, you had a good joke initially.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, that didn't work at all for me. And then spoilers for the monkey. Who cares? Um, we can use this to transition into the kills as well.
Sure.
That the fact that Bill is then immediately killed after that, I was like, oh, okay. So you like don't care about these characters as people at all. Like they're
Yeah.
just punchlines for you.
Well, and that's especially true for the supporting cast who
Yeah.
it's ostensibly a slasher movie, so okay, it's a comedic slasher movie. Okay, characters are
Hmm.
leading into stereotypes. I understand that we're killing them off, whatever, they're fodder ostensibly, and that's fine. But they exist a lot for punchlines, for someone looking funny or saying a funny thing and then being killed in a funny
Hmm.
way. That's fine. But I think you brought up an interesting point that I think applies to a lot of the side characters in the bits that they are saddled with is the repetition of jokes. There are multiple side characters in this movie that get basically one joke, one line, and they say it
Hmm.
4, 5, 6
Well, yeah.
times across the movie.
There's the vaping guy who,
Yeah.
oh shit, man, that sucks.
And the realtor woman
Yep.
who said like says the same thing over and over again, and the like guy with the like annoyingly long hair,
Yes.
he
Okay.
gets
I
his
want to
bit.
talk about him. I want to talk about him. The
But
Thrasher.
just to quickly wrap that
Yeah.
up,
Sorry. Continue.
they drive every joke into the ground. I
Yeah.
don't think I think it's mildly funny when the guy says, "Oh shit, that sucks," twice. But when around
Yeah.
the sixth time he says it, I'm like, okay, well this guy just exists to literally
Yeah.
just do that.
When he comes back in the movie, right, and like he says, "Oh shit, man, that sucks," like two or three more times. Like, oh, you didn't have anything else for this guy
Yeah,
to
yeah,
do. Yeah. Okay. The Thrasher character, who's
sure.
credited as the Thrasher, and I'm fairly certain is
Ricky.
like a key character in the short story
Sure,
as
sure, sure.
well. He reminded me of the Gangrene Gang from Powerpuff Girls with the hair
Sure.
over his eyes and everything. Um, I I have a the whole time I was watching the movie, like, what's this guy's deal?
Yeah. Why is he
What's
here?
his
Why is he involved?
Why is he here? Why is he helping Bill?
Yeah.
How does he know where Hal is immediately to like push the story into the third act?
Yeah.
Like, where is any of this stuff coming from? And so I really wasn't on board with his character at all, and I ultimately still am not. But I will say that he delivers what was for me and our friends the biggest laugh line of the
Okay.
entire movie. The when they see the hive of wasps or whatever, and he's like, "Oh, what is that? Hit that with your lights." And then he turns it on. Theo James hits it with his brights on his car, and then it just immediately that guy goes back to, "Oh, what the fuck? That's disgusting. What are you doing? Turn it off."
Yeah, yeah. Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I think that's a solid comedic bit, especially the performance of the guy. I'm like, okay, all right. He's like hamming
Yeah.
it up to the extreme, and I get it. But
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
what's the point of the joke? Like, you can
yeah.
see it fine enough. You know what it is without the
Uh-huh.
lights on. And so, and this is like, the characters don't act like people. No one in this movie
They're
acts
dumb.
like a person, reacts like a
Everyone's
person.
dumb.
Yeah, and so I think it really makes it hard for me as a viewer to feel invested in any character's progression or death. And ultimately, that's what ends up happening to a lot of these characters,
Mhm.
is they exist, they have their bits, and then they're killed off in a crazy way. And okay,
Yeah.
centering back in on, frankly, again, what I think is the strongest part of The Monkey is a variety of really well staged and very clever, elaborate deaths. And I think they're great. I mean, consistently throughout, I was like,
Sure. Yeah.
I've never seen anything like this in a movie.
They're funny too.
Yeah, they're funny, and I think the funny and the comedic timing of them, I think, works a lot
Yes.
more than the comedic writing of the movie. And so, I really have no complaints. Were there any ones that you thought were particularly exceptional?
Well, I do like Osgood Perkins' death himself. He
Yeah.
makes a little cameo in the film
does.
as Uncle Mike or Uncle Ian or something like that.
No, it's Chip, I think.
Uncle Chip, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. Where he's like, my Uncle Chip died on a hunting accident, but
Oh,
not
the horses.
not any hunting accident. He was trampled by 67 wild horses in the middle of in the middle of the night in his sleeping bag.
Yeah.
The coroner said that when he dumped the body out, it looked like somebody had drop kicked a cherry pie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
That's
of course,
a
you
good
get the accompanying visuals to
Yes.
that. That was really good. I mean, the pool death is sort of in the trailer, and I think really hits the bing bang boom of
Mhm.
the comedic timing and editing of deaths in general in this movie.
Yeah.
The only one that's like, because a lot of them are so sudden, I think that is intentional. It's the absurdity of death that Perkins is getting at here with his horror comedy, death comedy. The only one that's like more Final Destination-y, where I would say it is more elaborate, is when the monkey returns after so long, and the aunt dies
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well, and she gets fish hooks in the face, head on fire, post through the head.
Yeah.
Uh,
And like
all in
thing
one
on the
death.
foot for
Yeah,
whatever
exactly.
reason.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, and that's just classic. That's like Laura and Hardy comedy
Yeah,
right
no-
there. Is a bucket on your foot.
Well, I mean, that one definitely feels like, yeah, Lauren Hardy, like Tom and Jerry, and I
Yeah.
liked that because I think it kept ramping up. We see
Yeah.
the sort of the head on fire moment in the trailer, and I'm like, okay, whatever. But the fact that that also the freeze frame on that I thought was really good. The moment
Sure,
that
yeah,
her
yeah,
head
yeah.
hits it, her head is on fire, her head is halfway through the thing, blood is
Zoom.
spurting forward, and it goes freeze frame for like, it stays on for like 10 seconds, and I'm like,
Yeah,
all right,
probably.
that's a good moment. You earned that moment.
Yeah.
For me, the one that got the biggest laugh was the pawn shop owner at the beginning,
Oh,
and
sure, that's good.
the harpoon goes through him. Okay, he's dead.
Yep.
And then it starts retracting, and it pulls his like
It
large
pulls his
intestine
intestine.
all the way
Yeah,
out. I'm like,
that's
all
good.
right, you got me, you got me.
It's
That's
good.
funny. And I also did really like the shotgun blowing up the woman. She just
Well,
she turns
yes,
into
that's
fucking
an
paste, dude. She goes everywhere.
that's another one of the pool ones where it just somebody just
Yeah,
explodes
yeah.
in a comedic fashion. Those are well done. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm trying to think of any others.
The
There is the
bees,
moment where like
the wasps.
the wasps. Yeah,
That's a
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah. That one's
crazy, man.
That's pretty crazy. There's the moment where the monkey just goes ham and like causes half the town to be
Yeah.
killed with like planes, and then the skydiving joke, the skydiving wedding joke comes back from earlier in the
That's true.
film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what's
Um.
interesting about the way the movie ends is I feel like it's I feel like it's the lazy way out to write the ending to this movie, because
Mhm.
it means that the characters don't really have to deal with anything. They could just kind of
No,
move on.
they just
Like
leave.
they just leave and they say, "Okay, we're accepting this. It's a part of our lives, and we have to
Yep.
deal with it." And as they're doing this, there are people dying in comedic ways actively
Hmm.
as they're just sitting there and the monkey's doing nothing. And I'm like, okay,
The
so this
baby stroller on
yeah,
fire. Yeah.
and the group of the school bus of cheerleaders to get all their heads
Yeah.
chopped off. I'm like, let's be honest, this breaks the rules of what the monkey does.
Yeah.
It's nighttime when half the town dies or whatever,
The
and
plane crash
we
and
don't
everything.
actually
Yeah.
see a lot of that happen, and it's mostly just like pillars of smoke and fire and stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, fine. Like, if it was like an all-out carnage and we were walking through the streets seeing all this happen, I think that would have, of course, been high budget. So I understand why you don't
Yeah.
necessarily dedicate yourself to that. But I do feel like not showing it is the cheap way out of like the
Mhm.
ultimate end to a chaotic, ridiculous thing that where the strength is the kills. I was like, I feel like we should have seen that.
Okay.
And
No, I
then
get you. I
again,
get you.
as they drive off and the deaths are happening around them, the monkey did this, did his final drumming hours ago in the nighttime. It's full daytime when they're leaving. I'm like, people should not still be dying. Like if you want to commit to the rules of the monkey, commit to the rules of the monkey.
Well, we don't know how many times he hits his drum, of course, and as they say, he can decide when people die as
I guess
well.
that's true. There is a
Yeah.
maybe this doesn't.
It's a little bit of lamp shading and it's just a thing to have one final joke of the movie is all it really is.
Yeah, but
Uh,
again, I do think that is symptomatic of a problem this movie has, which is consistently undercutting any moments of actual character progression or motivation with a joke. And
Mhm.
to me, that's I think a through line through all my criticisms here is I think the movie takes its bits too far and doesn't recognize that some humanity, some genuine writing, I think is necessary to endear you to a set of characters for the runtime of a feature film. And as the
Yeah.
film continuously undercuts its moments, refuses to develop its characters in meaningful ways, has them constantly at each other's throats, kills off characters before they have a chance to have actual
Mhm.
redemption or motivation or progression, and then even ends on a moment where, yeah, okay, it's one last joke, that's fine, but it undercuts the moment as they're driving away. You didn't accept, like, you're just ignoring all this shit.
Yeah,
Is it
I
the way
get
to
you.
deal with a monkey? Ignore it? Maybe, I don't know. Like, it just creates a tone where I'm like, I know that Osgood Perkins cares. I know he's committing to his own style, but I do think that there is an importance to connecting to the characters in your world to
Yeah.
have it feel meaningful. It feels very empty to me, which I think is the problem.
So here's what I'll say is that I'll be interested to see. I know previous two long legs, of course, and I have not seen them, so I cannot speak to this.
Yeah.
But I think he might have. Uh, Almost like, and this is just the first name that popped in my head, and I don't think it's exactly like this, but almost a Shyamalan style way of writing his characters,
Sure.
where he is not at all concerned with making them real people
Yeah.
by any stretch of the imagination. Think back to, of course, Longlegs. Like, no one in that movie acts like a real person or
Yeah.
has a real connection. They are all like aliens encountering one another, which I think works for the vibe of that film,
Sure.
feeling very cold and distant and everything like that,
Yeah.
otherworldly in many regards. I don't think it works as well here since it is asking you to be a little bit more on board with like the father son thing or the brother thing.
Hmm.
And then, of course, can maybe step a little bit further into folly there with making it a 100% sort of ironic comedy.
Yeah.
But I think that is just a knack of Perkins' writing that we maybe have to get used to as we get further into
Yeah,
his
sure.
filmography,
Hmm.
or just say that you just don't care for it. You know,
Yeah.
you can kind of go either way with it. But I think it is a function of his style of filmmaking here. Um, Anything else, Tucker? I was trying to think
Scores?
if I had anything else. Oh, well, yes, of course. Anything else about the movie, dear Tucker boy?
No,
Okay.
I think I'm good.
Okay, sounds good. I like the joke where they do the supercut of all the deaths of people dying around the town, and if the last one is the snake on the golf course, and he's like, "Do they even have? We don't even have cobras
Cobras,
in
yeah.
Maine." And the realtor says, "Well,
There
there
was the
was the
one.
one."
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
good.
pretty solid. Again, I just had a lot of fun with all the jokes in this movie for the most part. And again, like I said, don't know how it would read on a rewatch, and I kind of
Sure.
get that vibe that I wouldn't like it as much.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna go a 6.5. I think a good time at the movies
A,
for me.
a good time at the features, and it does
Mhm.
seem like most people are feeling this way. It's
Yeah,
it's
it's
comedy. It's
really
very subjective, but
yeah,
it's what?
it's really either a like you liked it, it's solid, like a 7 out of 10, or it did not click for me at all, like a 1 or a 2 out of
Yeah,
10.
yeah. And I'm gonna go not 2 out of 10, but
Oh, sure, sorry,
I'll
yeah,
go
two
four
like
out
two
of
stars
ten.
or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
4 out of 10. I think this movie is below average, which I think is unfortunate because I was very
Yeah.
excited for it. I do think that the monkey visually, the way that he captures it is interesting, but it just it fights against itself. I'm like, no, you've got an idea, you've got something interesting
Hmm.
here, and then it's just like it's just always like poking me. It's like, hey, wasn't that funny? Hey, 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 laugh at that. That was
Uh-huh.
funny, wasn't it?
Uh-huh.
I'm like, no, calm down, leave me alone. And so
Sure.
I was not a fan. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. For me, unfortunately, critical review of the monkey. But I'm here to share my
Hmm.
genuine thoughts, and I did not have a particularly good time. But thank you everyone for watching our review, and we'll see you next time.